evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Yes, it's me, Graham Moore, otherwise known as Daddy Dragon. We have an answer. There's a few things I want to talk about tonight. We have an answer from the European Court of Human Rights. Let me just fold that so it doesn't show you any of my details. I don't think on pages of it. Decision, European Court of Human Rights. So what you just see on the screen, that disgusting, horrible-looking building, is the European Court of Human Rights, which I hope you all just see. I'll let you all share, because sharing is caring. I will let you hit the like button, because we never surrender. And please subscribe, because at least we're the only ones actually trying. Are we? So before I go into that, I'll let you all start sharing and have a conversation that our members or some of our members were at the High Court today. And they was actually listening to and went into, I think it was Court 73 or Court 72, where Rupert Lowe was challenging Parliament. From my understanding, there is reporting restrictions on the case, so I'm not allowed to discuss what I was told happened in the case. All I can tell you is the judge has said that he will give his decision after Easter, right? So in April sometime. The positive thing is, it's a reserved judgment, because that means the judge is going to have to think about it. But two, from my understanding, and this is from the court paperwork, which is out there, and you can talk about, Article 9 of the English Bill of Rights was at the core of the defence of Rupert Lowe, right? So that's all I can really say about it, because I don't want to cross into contempt of court territory, but all that information is available, and anyone can go and pick it up. But again, our members was there, and I am grateful to them, considering my distance from London and the fact that my back is not too healthy. So I certainly would not have been able to sit in a court, and I would have been in trouble. So that's the main thing. Before I get into the next element of this, because I am going to talk about the European Court of Human Rights and our application, let me just make sure. Let's see if I can bring this down a touch so you can understand it. And I'll be talking about this in a couple of minutes. I'm not even sure if that will come up or not. Let's see if that comes up. You should see it on your screen. Let me have a look. Let's see if I can pull it all the way down. There it is there. European Court of Human Rights decision, case of Moore versus United Kingdom, application number 1560/26. So it was the 1,560th case that was presented to them in 2026. Bearing in mind, this is only on the 5th of January 2026. And it goes into a number of things which I will come back and show you. But before I do, I'm going to stop sharing that a second, and we'll come back to that, and I'll talk you through a few things. But the main one I really wanted to show you tonight, and I did send it out earlier on, so hopefully I'm going to get into this, because I need to go and find it, because I thought this was absolutely superb by, let's say, an English constitution. So I'm going to put this up on the screen, because I think everyone should watch this, right? I need to bring it. How can I bring it up to you? Hopefully you're going to be able to hear this. This is Andy the Gabby Cabby hopefully people can share that online. I'll bring it up on screen, and you should be able to see this. Touch wood, you can all see this. If you can't see it, I might have to move it to another screen. Tell me if you can see the blank screen on the screen.
Saw an interview yesterday that descended into this ethnicity nonsense again about what qualifies as being English. And this particular interview, they turned around and used a man of colour who happens to be a famous football player and asked, is he English? Well, of course he isn't, but he is British. And the reason he's British is because of the British Nationality Act. He's got a British passport because his parents moved to this country donkeys years ago. They got a British passport. He was born in London, gets a British passport. But if you suddenly took the British Nationality Act away tomorrow, do you know what they'd be? Jamaican. It's not fucking rocket science.
Did you all see that, by the way? Tell me if you could see that. Evening, Graham and chat. So again, I mean, you have to remember, we are a different group of people, right? I want everyone to understand that. We are constitutionalists. We are English constitutionalists. Scotland has a constitution. Ireland has a constitution. England and Wales has a joint constitution. If Wales wanted to separate from us via a referendum, I wouldn't have a problem with it, right? But you'd have to get rid of the Scottish and English political union first. To make this clear, Andy has got it bang on the money, right? And it was in particular to do with a footballer, right? And he basically, the question come up about this footballer. I don't want to waste any time on this other than to say that little clip from Andy was absolutely spot on, right? It's basically, if you abolish the British Nationality Act of 1948 and 1981, right, then anyone who is regarded as British citizens, and that means anyone, right, are no longer British citizens, right? Don't matter what colour they are, whether they be European, whether they be Polish, whether they be Romanian, whether they be Bulgarian, whether they be Russian, whatever they are, right? If you remove British nationality, the British Nationality Act 1948 and 1981, there is no more British nationality. Then you will either be English, Scottish, Irish, or Welsh, or Cornish, right? It's as simple as that. And what he just said about basically Ian Wright is if you took his British nationality away, he's a Jamaican, right? Whether he was born here, no one's suggesting that he's going to get kicked out of the country, especially Ian Wright, right? There'd be a debate whether he could ever play for England again, right? And I don't think he could by law because he's not English. He's Jamaican, right? Does he live in social housing? I don't think so. Is he on benefits? I don't think so. Has he committed any crimes? I don't think so, but I don't know. You never know with these fucking footballers, right? Maybe the odd fraud when they throw themselves in front of the goal to get a penalty. Whether you could actually consider that to be real fraud or not is another matter. So, has he gone around raping anyone? No. Would he be the type of individual that would support the rape of people in England? No. So what would be the reason why you would kick him out? But we have now made a statement, he's Jamaican, right? If that's where his mum and dad come from, that's where his mum and dad come from. If he's second generation Jamaican in this country, he may be culturally English and one of us, right? A right nice fella, you'd have a beer with him, ain't got a problem with the geezer whatsoever. But he is not English. That's it. right? But the best person I've ever seen describe it ever, uh, and I was laughing when I see it, and I've tweeted it out to everyone. If anyone wants to go and tweet that, they can. And let me go and see if I can find that again. Let's see if I can actually hook onto it. If anyone wants to retweet it, say Andy, that was bang on, right? It is absolutely hilarious that people do not get how simple this is, right? So the British Nationality Act 1948 and the British Nationality Act 1981 remove it, right? And then we'll all go back, and there is no debates on who we are, right? Simple as that. It is the British Nationality Act that is causing the major issues. It is the British Nationality Act of 1948 that, Schedule 4, removed the protections of the English Constitution. And for anyone out there that isn't liking the fact that we are just, listen, I want people to understand it. There's different regiments in the English army. Call it that, right? Different regiments. And those regiments in the English army are constitutionalists, the rule of law, our history to show you that this has all happened before. And I'm hoping that I can actually bring this up on screen. And if I can find it and bring it up, I will do. There it is. So there's a particular, let me see if I can go and copy this for you. And then I'll show you, if anyone's got the actual link, which I sent out to people earlier, to send it out. Gavin just nailed it, right? I was sitting there giggling and laughing. It's not rocket science, is it? No, it isn't. It's simple, right? But all these people keep arguing. They're like lefties. You know, I just don't. Honestly, I don't understand why and who they're trying to have a pop at half the time. So I'm going to show you another one. I'm going to put this out there, right? Let's have a look. How many people here actually follow football? I'm just asking a question because I want to ask you another question. Would you be that bothered if we recruited, trained, and ensured that the English football team represented England as an ethnicity? That would fit the cat amongst the pigeons, wouldn't it? Right? Would you be that bothered? Would you be bothered if it was an all-white football team? There's a question to the audience, and that's not being. I'm just asking you the question. I would love to see. You remember when we won the World Cup in 1966? I think that was, most of them went for pie and mash after. Well, certainly the West Ham players. I'm trying to find my mouse and it's disappeared. All right, here it is. So I'm going to show you something else. Tell me. I'm going to click on that. And it's important, right? Danny Dragon, I certainly wouldn't. Only if we win. If they're winning. Oh, that's funny, right? No, I think it should only be English in the English football team. Tracy, well done. Yeah, I love football, but I hate the Premier League. Government involvement. We need to go back to basics. No, I agree. Right? And the reset position is always the English Constitution. That's what these people don't get. Like I've said, people like Britain First, Paul Golding, I mean, even to some extent, Tommy Robinson, and all these other people. What is it? Why is it that they won't stand up for their own race and culture? England, right? And let me just be very clear on this, right? If we was to remove, this is the bit some people won't like, because I know a few people in the BNP, that are actually dual nationality, right? Once your British nationality is removed and you go back to being English, Scottish, Irish, and Welsh, for example, and Cornish, obviously. If you've got dual nationality with America, you're not English, right? Because once you've taken the British one away, you go back to the other nationality. You will be deported, even if you are white, to America. You will be deported if you have got Israeli nationality, right? Once that British element is removed, you will go back to your other passport and we'll go, bye, right? Just to let everyone know, right? And that's got nothing to do with race whatsoever, because quite a few of them people I know are dual nationality with America are white, right? I don't want them here. I don't want them here. I don't want that dual allegiance, right? You're either English, Scottish, Welsh, or Irish, or you're not. That's it. Bye. Right? So there's nothing, to me, it's not about black or white. Holly England, evening, Chuck. Anyone? Just tell me any. Listen, you can disagree with me if you want to. Don't think you have to agree with me. Juicy Lucy, Western Supermare, yeah, 7th of April. And we're going to be getting on to our other conversation, which is what this is about. We've had a decision back from, let me have a look at that. No, English for the, let me just show you. I've got to show you this book again because I've shown it a few times. This is a book I've had for years, right? Got lots of little things in there. Some great information in that. Richard Bodie was an MP and he wrote England for the English, right? Everyone should try and get a copy of that. I think that one was actually signed by Richard Bodie. There you go. Just to let you know, right? I've been doing this a long time, people. I'm a constitutionalist, right? So there are regiments. If people are EFO nationalists, I'm not objecting to that whatsoever. But if they don't understand the Constitution, the EFO nationalists, and especially ones who believe they're British, right? When Britain isn't a nation, it's a unitary state, right? I just want everyone to understand this. They are products of a civ nat parliament. You couldn't make it up. And they start screaming about civ nats this and civ nats that. You're the one with the civ nat nationality, not me. I'm English. Do you all get that? Right? Does everyone understand what I'm saying? Right? It's not rocket science. Right. Let's have a look and see how many people I've upset tonight. Line, like you keep repeating, very low IQ. No, they are low IQ. If they can't get the basics, right? We're in the fucking shit we're in, right? And again, I'm going to show you this because I think it's important. And again, these people won't even go and read this, right? The secret people, and again, this is a proper bit of history. Hopefully you can see this on your screen. I'm going to blow it up as much as I can without distorting it. I've put the link out there for everyone, right? There you go. So I have to raise it up to try and get it on there. I've got 3 screens going. Hit that one. Right, so I'll put that back out there again, right? An act for naturalising foreign Protestants, 1708, the birth and death of the first British Nationality Act, right? And this is what Sir John Knight said. Sir, I was early instructed in a principle of deference to the wisdom of our ancestors. And at this time I tremble when I reflect on the correction given me by my master, that I might not forget, but imitate and defend in all times this rule. let them only be accounted good, just, and wise men, who regard and defend the statutes, laws, ordinances, and liberties which their forefathers' wisdom and experience obtained for themselves and posterity. Sir John Knight, right? I have mentioned previously in an article entitled "What Has the British Nationality Act Ever Done for Us?" that the British Nationality Act has been through many incarnations during its lifetime. The original statute, entitled An Act for Naturalising Foreign Protestants, 1708, was given royal assent in 1708, but was made void, right, abolished, and is not just repealed, but it was made void and abolished after just 3 years because so many aliens took advantage of it. And the social and economic problems it caused massively aggrieved the English people. The parliamentary references in this article demonstrate that the worries and concerns that the English people of the 1700s had about foreigners, i.e. aliens from Europe, settling on our lands are the exact same problems that we suffer today. Only the government of the day had the sense to knock it on the head once they realised the dreadful mistake they had made. Right? This is why this is all relevant. Right? 18 years prior to the ratification of the 1708 statute, there was an attempt to enact a bill by the same title, but it was unsuccessful. 10th of April 1690. So that's 2 years after the Glorious Revolution. They was attacking us then, right? The 10th, a motion being made for naturalising all foreign Protestants. It passed in the negative, yay 77, noes 82, right? So this channel is about English history, the English Constitution, and how we dealt as Englishmen with the problems we've got now in the past. That is the whole. Well, it's England. That is why we've become one of the greatest nations. So again, the official source, the history of proceedings of the House of Commons of England, Volume 2, 1742, page 377, online script. So you can go and click on that and have a look at it. Here is a great speech delivered by Sir John Knight, of which no doubt was the primary contribution to the defeat of that bill. Right? Now just listen to what the man says in 1690, right? And this is what these people are not understanding. In 1690, it was an English parliament, right? Not British. Right, here is a great speech delivered by Sir John Knight, and here it is, right? During this session, a bill was brought in, naturalising all Protestant foreigners, right? Protestants, right? Not Catholic, Protestants, foreigners, but was vigorously opposed, especially by Sir John Knight, who spoke against it as follows, right? Now just think Sir John Knight was a businessman, right? He had skin in the game for the country and his future generations. Think of Rupert Lowe when I read this speech out, right? Mr. Speaker, I have heard of a ship in a violent storm, in danger of perishing every moment. It was not such a sham storm as we were lately entertained with in the Gazette, right? There was big frauds going on, right? Really? You mean like COVID and CPE equipment and all these people earning all this money out of fraud, right? Affirming that many ships going to France laden with corn were cast away, though those ships and many more are since safely arrived in France. But it was such a real storm as on the 7th of last month destroyed on the coast of Cornwall upwards of 70 sail out of our English ships, most of which were laden with corn and several sorts of provisions. for the use of our Dutch allies to enable them to live cheap by making the same dear at home. Perhaps some was for the support of our half-starved and unpaid English soldiers, now in Flanders. When perished likewise more than 700 sailors, who have left a great many widows, children, and poor relations, to curse our conduct at sea. The cause of this calamity in such a dreadful storm was that it was foresaid the ship was in, when the good commander, seeing the danger and apprehending death, desired his crew to assist with resolution and preserve themselves and the ship, which the sailors refusing to do, he retired to his cabin, humbled himself in prayer, and implored the powers that alone can save in time of need. And though the ship and the company might be justly swallowed up for the disobedience of the sailors, yet that he and his cabin might suffer no damage, right? Sir, I cannot, as that good commander did, be so vain as to hope that. So if you understand the first part of the speech, he's describing something that happened at sea, that the captain basically buried himself in his head in his hands and just allowed everything just to continue, right? And just prayed, you know, like they do when all these big atrocities go off everywhere. And he's saying, the person delivering this speech is saying, I can't do that. I'm going to stand up and tell you what's going on and how we solve it, right? Sir, I cannot, as that good commander did, be so vain as to hope that either myself or the place for which I serve can be preserved from the general inundation which this bill we are now debating lets in. On the liberties of my native country and countrymen, and therefore to be unconcerned for the good of England, providing Bristol was safe, to hope for and expect happiness in life, when all mankind but myself are dead, would not be more deceiving than to propose comfort and security to myself and corporation, when strangers are admitted to possess and enjoy by a law all that valuable in the kingdom. For this bill doth enfranchise all strangers that will swear and protest against popery, with the liberties of every Englishman, after the vast expense of treasure and English blood it has cost this kingdom in all times and ages of our forefathers, to secure them to themselves and their prosperity. So what he's saying, he is, so Rupert Lowe said, I've got enough money to leave this country and live in Monaco. I'm not doing that. I'm offering you a chance as long as the people rally behind me, right? I don't care what faction you're from, right? You need to rally round this. I am an English constitution. I am about England. I am an English patriot. I am not British. But if there are British standing with us, I accept that. I accept their ignorance. But we need to move forward. This guy made this speech in 1690. Wherefore, Mr. Speaker, I must beg pardon if at this time I cannot sit silent, but express a zealous concern, as well as for the kingdom in general, as for the place I represent in particular. I am more moved thereunto, whilst I see so many members sent here by their country for the conservation of the Englishmen's liberties, so warm as to part with all strangers with one vote. The argument of the honourable person near me to render all care and our forefathers of no esteem amongst us, who are or ought to be representatives of the kingdom, was to prove that this age and generation are wiser. He did not say honester than the former. I remember a West countryman, where I am now, many years past undertook to prove the same to me and my company beyond the sea, but declaring his father was a fool to him, I yielded him that point by concluding both to be such, and yet our forefathers might be wise men. I shall not at this time question the wisdom of those who promote the bill or their fathers. For myself, I declare in behalf of the wisdom and honesty of our predecessors, nor can I assent to the yielding up of the liberties and laws they derived unto us, only because some gentlemen think better of themselves, and perhaps mistakenly than of their parents. Sir, I was early instructed in a principle of deference to the wisdom of our ancestors, and at this time I tremble when I reflect on the correction given to me by my master, that I might not forget, but imitate and defend in all times this rule. Let them only be accounted good, just, and wise men, who regard and defend the statutes, laws, ordinances, and liberties which their forefathers' wisdom and experience obtained for themselves and posterity. Now, it is my opinion, Mr. Speaker, that if those gentlemen who approve of this bill had not only been taught that rule, but as well corrected as myself, they would be of my judgment. And I wish that they who depart from that rule and sacrifice our English liberties to a number of mercenary foreigners may not meet with a much more rigorous and exemplary chastisement from their enraged and ruined countrymen. The arguments used for the bill are in substance these. First, a want of purchasers for our lands. Secondly, of merchants. Thirdly, manufacturers who can work cheaper than the English. Fourthly, husbandmen to till the ground. To all these I shall return short answers. But if I debate not on them with that advantage and reason, as our land and admirals can no doubt with great ingenuity on sea politics, I hope the House will pardon me. For my observations never cost the kingdom such expense of money at home and losses at sea as have the experience of those honourable persons in sea affairs. First, it is argued by some that we want purchasers for the lands. This is a melancholy consideration. I therefore desire those gentlemen who approve of this bill to tell me what it is hath brought us to this condition, that the landed men of England are reduced to so low an ebb that they must sell, and none are left able to buy unless foreigners are naturalised. Does this prove our forefathers wanted understanding? Or doth this not rather conclude it's occasioned by our want of it, and by our not following their examples? Who never taxed their country to the ruin both of themselves and their posterity? Just listen to the tax arguments. Nor did they expend the money of the kingdom on such allies as ours, who, as we have been informed by some of the Privy Council, are not in our interest, and will spare us none of their men for our pay, without great pensions likewise for themselves. Can any man hope to persuade me that our forefathers would have brought foreign soldiers into England and pay them and naturalise them likewise, and at the same time send the English soldiers abroad to fight in a strange land without their pay? Let us abate our taxes, and after the wise precedent of our fathers, pay our own seamen and soldiers at home, and send the foreigners back, then the money will be found circulating at home in such Englishmen's hands who may buy the lands that are to be sold without naturalising strangers. This all sounds like what Rupert Lowe's talking about now and the taxes. Is everyone hearing and getting this and understanding what I'm saying? Right? And then you've got lots of different people, not millions of them, but lots of different people. We're not interested in history. That's how we got in this fucking mess, right? People who were ignorant of our constitution going into Parliament and being in the civil service. Secondly, it is said we want more merchants. Whom may we thank for bringing so many to the poverty? But I shall forbear grating and desire the liberty to consider in short how the trade of England hath hitherto been carried on. Gentlemen have placed their younger children to merchants, their masters observing their honesty and diligence when they have gained some experience in the necessary parts of trade, generally send them abroad to Turkey, all parts of the Levant, to Spain, to Portugal, the East and the West Indies, and all parts where England holds any considerable commerce. There the young men are employed by and entrusted with stocks and estates of their masters and friends, whereby all parties, both the principal at home and the factors abroad, are advantaged, and England enriched. For there is in the end of all centres, and at last, when they are satiated with gain, they return to their native soil, England, their friends and relations for ease and enjoyment, making room for a younger generation to succeed in their profitable employments. What does Rupert Lowe keep saying about the young have got nothing now, right? He's not surprised they're all moving abroad. There's nothing for them in England anymore because the British have fucking destroyed it, right? Thus, hitherto, this kingdom have advanced in riches, whilst foreigners could not with success plant their factories on us through the advantage we had by our laws. Let us turn the tables and consider the consequence. Suppose we pass this bill and the Dutch, who no doubt will take the oaths as this bill directs and protest against popery and paganism, and on occasion Christianity too, as at Japan, send their servants and their factors hither, and we naturalise them and let the capital stock, which gets an employ to these new-made Englishmen, belong to their masters and friends who never did or ever will live amongst us. Will it not then follow that the profit will be theirs and not England's, and will not the new-made English, yet Dutchmen still, right? So you're saying they're still Dutch at heart. You might call them English, but they're still Dutch. This is why there's no racial shit here, right? Return to their country and friends with their gain, as our people hitherto have done. We may observe by our inland trade that it's seldom they who make the manufactories gain estates, but those who employ their stocks in buying and selling what others make. And it's the same with the merchants. Those that export and import are the gainers. The first makers very seldom, the consumer never, right? In other words, we never get any, and we don't gain anything by this, right? It's the duckers and divers and the people out there, what they used to call the spivs. The conclusion then of this experiment must be this: that what hath hitherto been gained to England by English merchants and factors will be turned to a foreign land by the foreign merchants being naturalised for their own, not England's. But this is not all. For at once the art of navigation will be rendered useless, whence then will be a nursery for seamen, For foreign merchants will naturalize foreign seamen, and when the press masters find them, they will Dutchen spranken ja min hier and avoid the service. But at the custom house, exchange, and in the corporations, they will be found as good Englishmen as any of this house, from whence it follows. Perhaps pay till another million being owning their wages, and in the interim have this only consideration and reward for service done and to be done, that their wives and children may be subsisted with the aims and the parish, whilst foreign soldiers are maintained at home and abroad with their pay. A third argument for admitting foreigners is upon a supposed want we have of manufacturers, especially such as will work cheaper than the English. In my opinion, this reason is extraordinary and ought not to take air out of the house. Lest the old English spirit should exert itself in defence of its liberties, for at this time, when all provisions are becoming excessively dear by the great quantities exported to Holland, which puts the poor English manufacturers on starving in most parts of England, for want of a full employ to enable them to support their families. By their honest and painful labour and industry, shall an English Parliament let in strangers to undersell our country, which they may easily do, whilst they live in garrets, pay no taxes, and are bound to no duty? What do you mean, like the European Postage Workers Directive, right? How shall we answer this to our country who sent us here, when by so doing, instead of making the kingdom more populous, we provide only for the sustenance of foreigners, and put our countrymen to the choice of starving at home or turn soldiers and to be sent to Flanders and starve there for want of their pay? For it's well known that at this time more commodities are made in England than can be consumed, abroad or at home, which makes the poor manufacturers so miserable. All country gentlemen within this house have for several sessions laboured what they could to raise the price of provisions which their lands produce, and some think it's not great enough yet, and they would despise that man who should endeavour to lower the rates by proposing a free importation of Irish cattle and corn, though he had no other design. That's why they brought in tariffs, to protect our markets, right? Exactly what President Trump is doing now. The English brought in tariffs, right? He had no other design, to charitable and necessary one, relieving the poor. And yet these very gentlemen are for this bill, because they would have the labour of the poor brought to a lower advantage. In my opinion, this is a very unequal way of reasoning, that whilst we raise the price of the product of the land for the gentleman to live in great estate, at the same time our consults are how to make the half-starved manufacturers live by their daily labour more and more miserable. What opinion will be the common people of England have of this house and the gentlemen of the kingdom, whom nothing can please but what is made by foreigners or comes from abroad? So you're basically turning the people against the house. That's what he's saying. You don't think that's happened already? Our palates for a long time have been so nice that nothing but a French cook could please them. Remember when, who was it? A famous commentator said, you know, we need to have our curries, or some idiotic thing that they said. Are you all enjoying this, by the way? Can you all hear what I'm saying? Give me a 5v5 if you understand. This is such an important part of history, right? It's a massive part of history from head to foot. We were at Le Monde de France. The gentleman was not well, served without a Frenchman, and a lady's commode, could not sit right. If her fine Frenchwoman did not put it on. Now, on a sudden, the changes are violent in favour of the Dutch, who are great courtiers and the only taking people, and our English are a sort of clumsy fisted people. If compared with the modish Dutch Hans and Frau, and in short, the Englishmen are fit for nothing but to be sent to the Flanders. So they were sending us off to war, right? And importing all these Dutch people and all these French people into this country to do the fucking jobs, right? But we was the ones getting killed on the fields, on the killing fields, right? There is one thing, Mr. Speaker, which comes into my mind, with which I shall close this consideration. What reason was there for blaming the mayors, the aldermen, the common councils and other governors of our corporations for surrendering their charters, though they still retained their rights? For Englishmen only to come into new charters and at the same time hope to justify our proceedings, though we throw up the great charter of our English liberties to admit strangers, right? A fourth pretence for this bill is a want of husbandmen to till the ground. I shall say little on this head, but request the honourable person below me to tell me of the 40,000 French which he confesseth are come to England. How many does he know that at this time follow the plough-tail? For it's my firm opinion that not only the French, but also any other nation this bill shall let in upon us will never transplant themselves for the benefit of going to the plough. They will contentedly leave the English the sole monopoly of that slavery. Right. Do you understand that paragraph? Imagine that we're bringing in, with these migrants and these asylum seekers and this immigration that we've got, we're bringing in engineers, we're bringing in doctors. Well, like, fuck are we, right? They're showing a bit of paper saying they're an engineer or a fucking doctor, right? And go and have a look at the hospital down in Sussex, where over 200 people fucking died because a geezer was lying that he was a fucking surgeon, right? Nothing has been done about that, right? Now have a look at this, right? This guy in that paragraph is explaining exactly what's going on today. This could be Rupert Lowe saying all of this now in Parliament. Upon the whole, sir, it's my judgment that should this bill pass, it will bring as great afflictions on this nation as ever fell upon the Egyptians, and one of their plagues we have at this time very severe upon us. I mean that their lands bringing forth frogs in abundance. I think he's actually talking about the French, even in the chambers of their kings, for there is no entering the courts of St. James and Whitehall, the palaces of our hereditary kings, for the great noise and croaking of the froglanders. Mr. Speaker, this nation is a religious, just, and zealous nation, who in some of their fits of zeal have not only quarrelled and fought for the same, but have murdered and deposed kings, nobles, and priests for the sake of their religion and liberties, which they pretended to prove from the Bible. We are the religious representatives of this religious people. Set us therefore learn instruction in this case before us, from that good book where we may be informed that St. Paul, being born free of heathen Rome, escaped a whipping and valued and pleaded that privilege. And the chief captain of the Romans prided himself that he, with a great sum, had obtained that freedom, and feared greatly when he had violated St. Paul's liberty. By binding of him shall we set at naught the freedoms of the English nation, who are religious, Christian kingdom, and part with the same to the strangers for nothing, unless the undoing of our own countrymen who sent us here, but not on this errand. Certainly we should follow the example of the Roman captain, and fear and tremble when we consider the just provocation we shall give to the kingdom, who will expect that we preserve and not destroy every English man's birthright. This sounds like Rupert Lowe. This was in 1690, right? Sir, we may further learn from that book the fate of the Egyptians who experimented on the score of charity, what it is a people may expect from admitting strangers into their country and councils, right? Joseph was a stranger, sold a slave into Egypt, yet being taken into the Pharaoh's council, he, by taxes and other fine projects, brought the 7 years' plenty God had blessed the Egyptians with into the granaries of Pharaoh. But when dearth came on the land and the people cried to their king for relief, they were sent to the stranger Joseph, who getteth from them for that which was once their own, all their money, their cattle, their lands, and the last of all, their persons into slavery, though at the same time he did far otherwise by his own countrymen, for he placed them in the best of the land of Goshen, and nourished them from the king's store. This example should teach us to be wise in time, seeing all of this was done by the advice of one foreigner in the Privy Council, an infiltrator, and what they may that country expect, where their head and many of the councils are foreigners. Sir, I perceive some gentlemen are uneasy. Perhaps I have offended them in supposing they are religious representatives, or concluding that their religion is to be proved from the Bible. If that be it which disbelievers, I beg their pardon, and promise not to offend again on that score, and will conclude all with this motion, that the sergeant be commanded to open the doors and let us first kick this bill out of the house and then foreigners out of this kingdom. What do you think of that? There's much more of that. It goes all the way down, and there's different people and reasoning, etc. But I can tell you now that that bill was kicked out, right? So the Parliament voted against it. Reason against the general nationalisation. While the bill for naturalising of foreign Protestant was dependent on a paper that was printed and industrially dispersed, containing in substance, one, that the conflux of aliens, as would probably be an effect of such law, might prove dangerous to our constitution, right? So these people out there that think they're fucking British and don't know anything about the history and don't know that this has happened before, they're telling you, if you bring foreigners in, it is a danger to our constitution. Our constitution is our birthright, right? People need to understand that. For these would owe allegiance to their respective princes and retain a fondness for their native countries, and therefore, whensoever a war should break out, might prove so many spies and enemies. Besides, under this pretense, the professed enemies of our established church and religion might flock over with design to effect their overthrow. That's exactly what's happening now, right? And yet these people are out there and are not listening to history and legal history, parliamentary history, and the fact that this was thrown out in 1690. Read the first paragraph and see it's exactly what's going on now, right? And then you've got some people out there who are saying to us, oh, you're talking about history, it don't matter anymore. Fuck off. To tell us our history don't matter is like telling an Englishman with his inheritance, your fucking inheritance don't matter anymore. It does matter. There's one thing we've all got, and that's the inheritance of our constitution. This is number 2 on this, right? That a general naturalisation might undoubtedly spread and a universal disgust and jealousy throughout the nation, particularly in those cities and towns that are places of manufacture. There have been many complaints and commotions in London, elsewhere, on occasion of foreigners. 3. That the design of inviting multitudes of aliens to settle here might prove in time a farther mischief. For they would not only be capable of voting at elections. Fuck, really? The man was a genius, right? Capable of voting at elections, but also being chosen members of parliament. Really? Diane Abbott? Sadiq Khan? Have admission into places of trust and authority, which in process of time might endanger our ancient polity and government, and by frequent intermarriages go a great way to blot out and extinguish the English race. Really? Oh, cool, blimey, you would think an Ethno nationalist would want to read this, wouldn't you? Oh, no. They prefer to be a product of the British Marxist slow march through the institutions, right? 4. That anciently naturalisations by Act of Parliament were seldom or never made but upon some special reasons and particular occasions. And though some acts had given encouragement to foreign merchants and weavers to settle here, it was when our weaving trade and other manufacturers were inconsiderable to the advancement they had since attained. Besides, from the settlement of the great customs in Edward I's time, in all acts of Parliament since passed, aliens had always been charged with an increase of customs above natives. So you paid to be here, right? Not us. They paid. They paid higher taxes to work here. We paid lower taxes or none, right? In all acts of Parliament since passed, discrimination kept up between them and was particularly remarked by the learned Chief Justice Howe in a tract against the general naturalisation. You can keep going through this. Let me tell you something. It goes into 12 and then reasons for it. It literally goes in. This is all part of our history, right? And people need, so I'm going through this. If anyone wants to go through this, stop it and have a look, right? And again, this was all created by a man in Essex, right? Someone who's associated with us as the English Constitution Society and the English Constitution Party. His name is The Secret People, after a famous poem. And then we go on different things on there. Every right, there's a website. Our website's on there. Lawful Rebellion, John Hurst, library, about every bit of information you ever wanted. But people must know, right, that information is out there. So I'm asking you all now to give this a like, right? Hit the like button, right? Just hit the like button. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, and tell us if we are educating you. And things like this show should be sent to Rupert Lowe and his team and say, listen, this person, Sir John Knight of 1690, sounds like Rupert Lowe today. The English Constitution and the common law is about learning from your mistakes and taking them rulings, whether it be a parliamentary process, whether it be a judicial process, stare decisis, and forward paying it to the future generations. They should be looking at this. Did you all enjoy that? Right, well, let's get into the next part, because I'm going to take that off now. Stop sharing. I probably didn't do it justice with the readout, only because I would have to get into character and dressing up with little frilly little things and funny hair and all that. Right. So you'd want to see me dressing up, wouldn't you? Eh? No, you ain't have none of that. Right. Let me have a quick look. So we are now going to take you to the final part of the show, because I don't want to sit down for too long. But we have had a response from this mob. There it is. Just to let you know, I do actually do things. Right? But basically, they've let me get it up on the screen so you can all see it again. WhatsApp. Hopefully this is going to come up on your screen, and I'll bring this down. So there is the actual document, right? Yes, please. Thank you. There's the actual document. Ugh. Let's see why that's so thick. Thank you to my assistant, my lighting manager. My lighting manager and cable manager, with my back ain't operating as it should. So we made an application to European Court of Human Rights. The decision case of, so I'm showing you on the screen that it's there. There's some more things I've got to probably go and speak to someone about, which I'll do probably tomorrow. Case of Moore, United Kingdom versus United Kingdom, gives you the application, the date it went in, etc. And this is their decision. I'll skip straight to it. The court declares that the application is inadmissible. What they're saying is the European Court of Human Rights, sitting on the 5th of March 2026, in a single judgment formation, pursuant to Article 24 and 227 of the Convention, has examined the application as submitted. The application refers to Article 6 and 1 of the Convention, Article 13 of the Convention, and Article 3 of Protocol Number 1. As concerned the complaint raised under Article 6 and 1 of the Convention, the court finds that in light of all the material in its possession, right, bearing in mind we couldn't send all of it, right, that the matters complained of do not disclose an appearance of a violation of the rights and freedoms set out in the Convention or the protocols thereunto. Accordingly, these complaints within the meaning of the thing, so they've thrown that one out. The second one is this one. As concerns the complaints raised under Article 13 of the Convention and Article 3 of Protocol Number 1, the court finds that domestic remedies have not been exhausted. They have, because you can't appeal the final decision unless I can come back, and I may have to speak to someone to see if I can do something else there, because I may be able to appeal the November ruling. All right, that's what I'll probably be trying to look at. Remedies have not been exhausted as required by Article 35(1) of the Convention, since the applicant failed to raise before competent domestic authorities. You can't appeal. They're saying this is a separate jurisdiction, and you can't appeal it in this country to the Supreme Court. That's what they've told us, right? So the only other application is to them, right? So you're left with a dead end. I was never expecting the European Court of Human Rights to find in our favour, especially this mob, and especially anything to do, especially when you think about what Starmer's trying to do is get us back into the European Union, etc. And the best thing that we can do is get the fuck out of the European Convention of Human Rights, shut the whole fucking thing down, right? don't have any involvement with the European Union or their court system or administrative law, right? We need to then enforce our constitution, and in this country, meaning England, yeah, we need to impeach, and that is, you need everyone to get out there and vote for Restore Britain, and our elected representatives of Restore Britain will restore the constitution and will restore all of our constitutional laws. And one way of doing that is for us in Parliament to impeach the judges. There's well in excess of 1,000 judges that need to be impeached. What does that mean? They get sacked, they have their pensions taken away, their properties taken away, and say, you have perjured your oath. It is one of the highest crimes in this land. You are losing everything, because that's what you've done to our people. Right? That's the only way of dealing with it. So at the end of this, the court declares that the application is inadmissible. That's it. But at least we tried. And again, if you look at the actual document that was sent, people will know there was quite a bit. There was a load of work that had to be done. I wasn't expecting them to find in our favour, but at least we've tried. Unlike many others who just sit there as little trolls and bitch all they want to bitch, right? Anyone who keeps talking about, yeah, let's have a civil war. Where's your guns coming from? Where's your ammunition coming from? You got the British controlling everything. What the fuck do you think you can do? Why are you leading the working class into some war situation yet again, right? Because you're leading lambs to slaughter, right? What we need to do is get behind Restore Britain. That's it. Any questions? I will see if I can do something with that tomorrow in another way. Like I say, we'll never surrender. That's it. If there's no other questions, Leon Rivers, God loves a tryout. Yep, absolutely. Can you take it to Texas common law court? No, not this particular type of case. But it is. They're proving they don't give a fuck about us. We are in a complete tyrannous situation where the monarchy's gone pear-shaped, the judiciary's gone pear-shaped, and Parliament's gone pear-shaped. You need someone who's going to step up and lead us. I've just read out that whole speech. It sounded like Rupert Lowe in 1690, right? But yet you've got these people who just don't listen. That's it. I am off. Good night. God bless. Don't forget what I believe in. The English Constitution is the solution. It solves 95% of our problems, and we need to enforce it. And the people are the ones who can do that. That's it. Tiddly poo, au revoir, and good night.